Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. For today's video, I am super excited because we are going to be doing a 4 looks 4 palette video with the Ulta Beauty and Harry Potter house palettes. So if you have not seen, I have done a first impressions video using each one of these palettes, which I will be sure to link down below if you want to go check those out. And we will do a quick little run through of what each of the palettes look like, and then we will get into the looks. So first up we have the Gryffindor palette. Next we have Hufflepuff. Next up is Ravenclaw. And finally, we have Slytherin. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video, so be sure to settle in, grab a snack, and let's get started. So our first look is going to be with the Gryffindor palette. So I'm first going to take the shade Autumn on a small little blending brush, and I'm going to start by packing this directly into my crease and blending upwards. And just so you all know, I will have timestamps down below to the start of each of the 4 looks in case you want to skip around or just see my look with one palette if you're just interested in one, or if you want to watch all 4, that would be great as well, but I just wanted to give that option. So once we have that laid down in my crease, we are going to start by winging out the outer portion of the crease. So just build up this color to where you want it and start winging it out. Next we are going to be taking Mandrake on a Wet n Wild Fluffy blending brush, and this is going to help blend out the crease. I've said this before, but this is one of my favorite shades in this palette. I absolutely love the color of it, and it just works well as a nice pinky transition shade. Next, we are going to be taking Chocolate Frog on an angled brush. This is the small angled brush from e.l.f. And we are going to start defining where we want our crease with this. So I'm just going to be drawing a little bit of a messy line just to define where the crease will start. And once again, we are going to wing this out as well. So once we have that where we want it, we're going to go back in with the first brush and just help blend out. I'm also going to go back in with a little bit of Mandrake and once again blend everything out with this. Next up, we're going to be taking my e.l.f. Camo Concealer and we're going to start cutting the crease. So I like to start in the inner portion close to the lash line when I'm doing my cut creases, and then slowly work my way up to where the line that we drew with Chocolate Frog is, and we're going to make this pretty sharp up against that line. And I like to draw that line with the shadow so that we do have that nice outline as to where I want the cut crease to be. So just start in the inner portion and then start dragging it outwards, following that line once again, and connecting it to the upper lash line. So here's the shape we have so far. I'm going to go back in with the first brush with no additional product and just work on blending the crease a little bit just to define that line a little more and get rid of any concealer that may have made its way up into the crease. Next, I'm going to be taking the shade Peach on an e.l.f. C brush, and this is going to just be packed all over the lid right where we put that concealer, just to set this down and create a little base for the lid. Next, I'm going to go back in and define the crease a little bit more with Chocolate Frog, just to make this a very sharp cut crease look. Next, I'm going to be taking another small angled brush and going back in with Autumn, and this is going to start going along my upper lash line to create a dramatic winged liner. So I like to start in the outer portion for this, really tight to my lash line. So this way we start small and then we'll gradually build it up into the dramatic wing that I am going for. So we're going to start winging this out following that concealer line, and then we will drag it in to create to connect it to the lash line. Next, we are going to be taking Mandrake, and we're going to start working on blending out the liner a little bit to create a smoky liner look, and repeat what we have done in the crease on the lid. So here is what we are looking like so far. Next, I'm going to be taking Howler on an e.l.f. smudge brush, and this is going to go along my lower lash line to add some shimmer back into this look. So just stick this really tight to the lower lash line. I don't want this to get too dramatic, as I want the main focus to be the smoky liner on the lid. Next, I'm going to be taking Passion, and this is going to go in my inner corner. And I'm going to work on blowing this out a little bit in the inner corner to create a really dramatic, sparkly, impactful look. So here is the look so far. I'm going to go add mascara and I will be right back. So here is the final look. I am quite pleased with how this one turned out. I really like the combination of the red and the pink in the crease and then repeated for the liner. I have been absolutely loving these palettes, which is something I'll probably mention 100 times in this video, but I have just been so pleasantly surprised, and I'm always so excited to play with these palettes. So with that, we will get into our next look. So for our second look, we are going to be using the Hufflepuff palette. So first I'm going to be taking Galleon on a Wet n Wild blending brush, and this is going to start going in my crease, a little bit high in my crease. I have mentioned before that I love matte yellow shades, and this one is no exception. I think it performs so beautifully. It has a very nice pigmentation to it, and I absolutely love it. I've used it quite a few times since I got this palette, and it continues to be one of my favorite shades. So just work on blending this shade out and building it up in the crease like usual. And then we're going to start doing a little bit of a curved shape in the outer corner. So just work with little circular motions to blend out, and then start doing that little bit of a curved line in the outer portion of the crease. So next we are going to be taking Earth on a small blending brush from e.l.f. And this is going to go in my outer corner, lower in the crease and onto the lid a little bit. So I'm just going to work on building this up and following that same curved shape that we were going for. And I really wanted to just test out today how these two work together, because typically when I use yellow shades, I like to go in with either a dark brown or a darker orange to deepen it, but this earth shade is more of a purple tone, so I kind of wanted to see how these two work together and perform. So once we build that up in the outer corner, we're going to start dragging it in with whatever is left on the brush. And so far, these two seem to be working pretty nicely together, which I am very happy about, because typically I like to reach into one palette for my look for the day, so I want to have a nice deepening shade for this yellow, since I do use it quite often when I reach into this palette. Next, we are just going to go back in with a little bit more of Galleon and help blend everything out. So next, we're going to be taking Sunset on an eyeshadow brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to start with using this dry and packing it on the outer corner right next to Earth. And this is a pretty shade dry, but I think I want a little more impact, so I am going to go in and wet my brush. And this just helps the shade stick better to the lid, so you get the full impact of the shimmer, which is what I am going for today. So I'm going to bring this about halfway across my lid, and then we'll go in with the shade Golden Snitch on another packing brush, And this is going to go in the first half of the lid. And I am also going to wet my brush for this one. So we're just going to pack this on the inner portion of the lid and tap over to blend it in with the sunset shade. So I'm going to take a little bit more of sunset on my finger just to really deepen up that outer portion of the lid and just make this as high impact as I can in the outer corner. Next, I'm going to be taking Burrow on an e.l.f. concealer brush, and this is going to go directly into the outer corner to deepen up slightly. I just wanted to add a darker shimmer to deepen up the look and blend in with earth a little bit. So next I'm going to be taking earth on my lower lash line, sticking super close to the lashes. And I don't really like to make my lower lash line too pigmented, so I'm just tapping in ever so slightly with this and then going over it with Galleon to help blend out. And I just want a little subtle reflection of the crease onto the lower lash line. Next, I'm going to be taking Sherbet and just helping to blend it out on a big fluffy brush. And then we're going to be taking Lumos on a small smudge brush from e.l.f. And this is going to go in my inner corner. I love the shade for the inner corner. I think it is so pretty, so light, so reflective. And I'm also going to be taking a little bit of this on my brow bone, just tapping in slightly and blending it out. So here is the final look. And I'm going to go add mascara and I will be right back. So here is the look all complete. I am really happy with how this turned out. This is definitely more of an everyday look, especially compared to the other looks in this video. But I do really like how it turned out. And like I said earlier, I wanted to experiment with the Galleon and Earth shade and see how those two blended together. And I just wanted to create that beautiful, soft, shimmery look across the lid. And I think this one turned out very nicely. And I'm very pleased. So next we will be getting into the Ravenclaw look, so stay tuned. So for our third look, we are going to be using the Ravenclaw palette, and I'm first going to be taking Fang on an e.l.f. blending brush, and we are going to start this up really high in my crease, right underneath the brow. And I'm going to work on building this shade up there and then going at a slight diagonal down the rest of my crease towards the outer corner. So this is a shade that you really need to work on building up and blending out, because it can tend to look a little bit patchy, but just work slowly with it and it does turn out nicely. So once again, just get that diagonal shape down. Then we're going to take Bark on a Profusion fluffy brush And I just barely tapped my brush into the shade because I don't want to use too much of it, but we're just going to slightly blend out Fang. And I just don't want this shade to get too much on the brown neutral side. I want it to stay really cool toned. So just follow the same shape of the crease with this shade and slightly blend out Fang. Next, I'm going to be taking Pixie on my finger, and we are going to start by packing this all over the lid, sticking kind of close to just on the lid, and then we will go in with a brush to really define where I want the line to be with this shade. So taking an e.l.f. concealer brush, I'm going to pack this shade up close to where the gray is, right underneath where that line is, just so we get a nice sharp look. And I'm also just going to use this brush to help build up this shade in spaces that got missed with the finger. And I just really like using these small brushes because they are very precise and put the product right where I want it to go. So next I'm going to be going back in with the brush that had Fang on it and just redefining where this color was, just to build back up any pigmentation we might have lost and make sure none of the shimmer really got into the crease at all. And we're also going to go back in with a little bit of bark and once again just blend out. Next we're going to be taking bow battens on my finger, and this is just going to go right in the center of my lid to lighten up slightly. This isn't going to do too much, but I just wanted that subtle little shift of light in the center of the lid. Next, I'm going to be taking Twilight on an angled brush, and I'm going to start drawing out a liner starting really close to my lash line in the outer corner and working my way towards the center of the lid. So just work on building this shade up tight to the lash line and bringing it from the outer portion of the lid to the inner corner. And then we are going to take this same shade, and I did spray this a little bit, and I'm going to start defining where I want the wing to be. So I'm just going to start by tapping this down and then curving it slightly to match up with the liner that is already on the lid. So just work on building this up and defining it. So here is what we are looking like so far. So now I'm going to be taking Hedwig on a small smudge brush, and I'm going to mix it with natural. And this is going to go in my inner corner. And I'm going to bring this all the way up to where the crease is. And this is just going to help to open up the inner portion of the eye a little bit more by packing a really light color in the inner corner and bringing it up. So this Hedwig shade does have a lot of fallout, which is something I've experienced every time I use it, but I just tend to brush it away. So here is what we are looking like. Next, we are going to be taking a little bit more fang on that same fluffy brush and running it really close to the lower lash line. And like I said for the previous look, I don't want my lower lash line to get too dark and pigmented, especially for this look. So we are just going to blend this out. And once again, I'm going to take a little bit of natural to help do that, just so we can really focus on the lid. So here is the look. I'm going to go add some mascara and I will be right back. So here is the final look. I think this one, it might be my favorite that I've done in this video. The Ravenclaw palette is definitely my favorite so far, color story wise. I just absolutely love the mix of the neutral, cool tones and the blues. I think it's so versatile, and I've had so much fun creating looks with this palette, as well as all the other palettes. So with that, we will get into our final look using the Slytherin palette. So now it is time for the final look using the Slytherin palette. And for this look, we are just going to be jumping straight in with the Black Lake shade. And I'm going to start just packing this all over my lid, building it up, and I like to start close to the lower lash line and gradually build it up towards the crease, covering the entire lid. So today I am going to be creating a more dramatic, bold statement kind of look with this palette, but I did want to mention that I have found this to be a very versatile palette. I have created very neutral, wearable, everyday looks using this palette. I know in this video you'll see a much more bold look, and in my first impressions I did a pretty dramatic look as well. But for those of you who like neutral looks as well as the colorful looks, this palette can do both. So I just thought that would be important to mention. So I'm going to start bringing this shade up into my crease slightly, just packing it in there. And one thing that's important with this look is you have to make sure you cover the entire lid evenly with this shade. We don't want there to be any patchiness, so just really focus on building up the shade evenly across the lid. So I'm also going to start slowly blending the shade out with that same brush, and just blending it upwards with little circular motions. Next, I'm going to take the shade Herb on an e.l.f. blending brush, and this is going to also help blend out the crease. And I did this color combo in my first impressions video as well, and I really enjoyed it with the black and the matte green. I thought it looked really pretty, so I wanted to do that again with a different look today. So then I'm going to go back and forth with these two shades until we get the desired pigmentation of each. And once we have that look, I'm going to take Black Lake on my lower lash line. And for this look, I know I said previous looks I don't want a dramatic lower lash line, but for this look I am going to build this shade up a little bit more than I typically would, just for the look that I'm planning to create today. And then I'm going to go back in with the herb shade and help blend it out so we get a nice matching crease to lower lash line look. So next I'm going to be taking my e.l.f. Camo Concealer, and I'm going to start doing a bit of a halo eye, but I want to bring this all the way up through the crease and I want to create a point at the top of it, so a kind of triangular shape. You could definitely just do a regular halo eye with this look, but I did want to try something different for this video, something I have never done before, and I'm hoping that it turns out like it's pictured in my head. So I'm just gonna draw this shape up to a point through my crease, and I'm gonna finish this off camera so I can really focus on it. So here is the first shape for the lid, and I'm going to do a similar shape except a little bit smaller on the lower lash line. So we're going to bring the point downwards, and I'm also going to do this one off camera as well, so that way I can get it precise and match it up to the lid. So here's what we are looking like so far. So next I'm going to be taking Ivy on an e.l.f. concealer brush, and this is going to go right where I put the concealer on my eye. So I started with a dry brush with this, but I am going to spray it a bit and just work on building up this shade. And this concealer didn't need to be perfect. You can see mine's a little bit jagged. I don't mind that for this look personally. So I'm just going to pack this shade right where I put that concealer, work on building it up on the upper lid and on the lower lash line. Next, I'm going to be taking Moon on that same brush, and I'm going to be layering this right on top of Ivy just to lighten up this look a little bit and give it a little bit more dimension. And I'm also going to be bringing this Moon shade into my inner corner to brighten up the look there. And here is the final look. I'm going to go add mascara, and I will be right back with my final thoughts. So here is the final look. I really enjoy how this one turned out. I'm so happy I decided to experiment with it today. You guys will have to let me know which of these 4 looks was your favorite. I think mine was probably the Ravenclaw look, but I do really enjoy how all of them came out. Also, let me know which Hogwarts house you are in if you know. I am a Gryffindor, but I love all my Hogwarts houses. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Let me know what else you would like to see from me, and if you would consider subscribing, that would be great. And I will see you all in my next video.